Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your gracious host, Eric King, and today I have with me a very special guest, and she does need an introduction because she's not a returning guest. But she might as well be because from the beginning of this podcast, one of my first episodes, I started sharing it to my immediate family, friends, but also my coworkers. And I was working with this young lady, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm doing this thing," and I shared the link to her. She said, "That's great, man. What's it about?" I said, "Mental health. I've started therapy." So this is way back then, and she said, "Man, that's awesome, man. I'm in something called Codependence Anonymous." I was like, "What?" And again, my first episode we dropped was about Alcoholics Anonymous. So to hear about Codependence Anonymous, I was like, whoa, there's more anonymouses, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, without further ado, I want to introduce one of the original supporters to let me know I was on the right track with this show. None other than Houston's very own Danae. How you doing, Danae?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Better now that you're here, man. I'm just trying to be like you.
Good. That's not a bad person trying to be like.
Exactly. There you go, man. Even at the job, man, I was following her. They put me, she was telling me what to do, man.
I
So
try to look out.
yeah, for sure, man. And so again, I gave you that brief introduction, but I also learned again, you're a TikToker, you know what I'm saying? That's coming up as well. You're a mother as well. You got a lot of things going on in your life, man. So I just want to thank you for coming on the show and making time for us. When we talked about originally, doing this Codependence Anonymous, podcast, I just kind of wanted to, kind of get your background and what was your experience with it?
So Codependence Anonymous, it it is a 12-step program like Alcoholics Anonymous, but the emphasis on it is for anybody that has an interest in having healthy relationships. If you find yourself in several relationships that are toxic, unhealthy, or whatever, just not working out for you, Codependence Anonymous is a good place to kind of go and address some of those issues there. So the way that I found Codependence Anonymous was at the end of my second marriage. My ex-husband was lying quite a bit, and so I had started reading some books on deception and things like that, just trying to and I was so toxic at the time that I thought that for some reason I was the reason why he was lying. So I was reading books trying to figure out like how to get him to be more honest and what I could do and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so at the back of one of the books, it had like a little quiz. Like if you check, yes to a bunch of these things, Codependence Anonymous might be helpful for you. At the time, it was like as our marriage was ending and stuff like that, and it was still like it was over, but it was still kind of all of the rolling around of it as it was falling apart. So, the book just said like, check out, Codependence Anonymous meeting or something like that.
Okay.
For
So
some
a
help.
suggestion from the book. Okay.
It was a suggestion from the book, and I went to a meeting. My first meeting I went to in St. Louis, it was really whack, but I needed the support. So when I moved back to Houston, I found me another all women's group, the same group that I still participate and work with today, and that's where I've been.
That's what's up, man. Okay, man. First you don't succeed, try again, people. That's one
For
thing we do
sure.
say, like even with therapy, whatever you're doing, man, sometimes it may not work. It may not be a great fit that first go around. That doesn't mean, you might be on the right track, just the wrong train. And so shout out to you for sharing that. And I guess to back it up just a little bit, you brought us
Yeah,
all the way, to the second marriage. Are you originally from Houston? Is that where you're from? Or are you
I'm
from
from
St.
St.
Louis?
Louis. I'm from
Okay.
St. Louis. Yep.
Okay, she is from the Loop. Awesome, man. So
Yes.
a local person that has sense enough to fly a little bit south because it's like 40 degrees here right now. So yeah, you had sense enough to get down there. So was there anything like again in your background that kind of like led up to the point where you were even looking at a place where Codependence Anonymous was being advertised?
I wasn't looking for that at all. It was just I was just trying to figure out how to work things out in my marriage. That was the
Mm-hmm.
main thing that I was trying to figure out, like what was going on here and things like that. And then it came out like, if you're dealing with stuff like this might be a good program for you. So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
something that I was looking from I
Mm-hmm.
would say that a lot of the work that we end up doing in Codependence Anonymous, it comes from just growing up in toxic, being raised in
Mm-hmm.
toxic homes that have unhealthy relationships there. Like since then, I've branched off. Like I don't host a Codependence Anonymous meeting. I host an adult children's of alcoholics and dysfunctional families meeting. That's
Okay.
the meeting that I host weekly. It's also a 12-step meeting, but it's a little bit of a deeper dive because it seems like codependency will deal with your more recent relationships, but once that's done, then the adult children of alcoholics, that one is to help address some of those childhood tendencies that I learned to survive there. And so that's
Okay.
where I spend time is really addressing where I even developed these habits in the first place.
I like that because that's kind of where I was going with it. What were these things that kind of led up to,
Mhm.
to you getting to that point? Like I said, not necessarily seeking out Codependence Anonymous, not even knowing about it, but seeking out material that would lead you in that direction. What is it about? Again, the background, like you said, you host a meeting specifically for children of alcoholics. Was it
Adult children's of alcoholics and
alcoholics?
dysfunctional families. Yep.
So what kind of caused you to like branch out into that? Now obviously, kind of giving it away, there's some alcohol abuse from your family in the background, but like where did you feel the need to like, okay, do something specific for that? You said it was more about the recent abuse or recent traumas, but you wanted to go back earlier with it.
So for the adult children's meeting, it isn't just for people that have like alcoholics in their family. It's if your family is dysfunctional as well. Like your parents
Mm-hmm.
might not have drank, but they had other things that they were doing that was just like really off the wall. That impacted, me. It impacted me as an adult. So that's how I ended up there. And the reason I kind of focus a lot more on the adult children's meeting now is because um my the way all of the 12-step programs, even Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a promises. If you work the program, then you will have these promises, these things that are guaranteed in your life. And when a friend of mine introduced me to that meeting and I read the promises, I said that's the kind of life that I want to have. And if
Mm-hmm.
that program is saying that they offer that, then let me go ahead and work that program as well. I had already been in Codependence Anonymous for a couple years at this point, and I was living that program's promises. And so I wanted to have more joy and more peace and things like that in my life. So I switched it up and went to a program that was harder,
Mm.
but also provided more peace and benefits and higher quality of life.
Okay, no pain, no gain. She said, "People, the program was harder." What do you mean by harder? I'm interested. Did they go like make you dive deeper into yourself, or what's the struggle, within these things for somebody that doesn't know, what that's
It
like?
is. It is. It is harder, like diving deeper in yourself, dealing with how I was affecting, playing a part in the relationships that I had. Because I think it's really easy to be like, my ex husband was cheating on me, he was lying to me, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I was in that relationship for 7 years. There was stuff going on throughout all of those years, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why did I even choose to be in a relationship like that? You know what I mean? So it was like, what
Mm.
was attracting me to that? Because even after things start, tumbling down, I still wanted to be with this man after a lot of things. And so there was a lot of accountability that had to be looked at on my part. The new program, there was a lot of like, I can't blame my parents because such and such happened anymore. Like, no, once I got into the program, it was like, we done saying like, you got this from your mama or whatever. It's like,
She get it
I
from her
might have got it
mama.
there, but you know, I'm going to I'm gonna work on it and stop passing the blame. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the program so long now, it's like it's hard for me to really point a finger at my ex for the things that he did because I can see so clearly all the things that I was doing wrong too that contributed to it.
Mm.
And so it can be hard to look at because it's like you create your life, you
No,
know?
hey, wherever you go,
So
there you are.
that was a very difficult. It was hard in that sense. It was hard in that sense. It's hard
Mm.
in, deciding that I don't like being treated this way. I don't like to do this. So I got to do something about it. I got to move around. I got to create new opportunity and stuff like that. Not be complacent about, the decisions that I make in my life. And that stuff is hard. Change is hard. There's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that I used to talk to that I don't talk to anymore. I can't keep that stuff around me because it's not good for me. So
Mm,
making hard decisions and sticking by them and just being like, no, I want something different. So I have to do a lot of different things, and I have done a lot of different things, and that's a lot of work.
yeah, definitely. I just keep hearing like in the back of my mind, I just keep hearing boundaries, boundaries, Eric, because it's something I struggle with. Like when you said even cutting off people, um, you know, um, that's why I was asking. Okay, so are you from Houston? You moved back to St. Louis again? Even the moving thing, because I've only just recently moved for the first time ever. And I can say, man, that's been one of the hardest things for me is again knowing where to draw that line to create those healthy boundaries. So the previous episode I was talking about having compassion. Boundary people are compassionate people. So
We
that
are.
way, yep. So that way, when you're not violating your boundaries and allowing people to do this to you and that to you that you really don't want to do, doing things for people you
Mhm.
don't want to do, all this stuff. So that way, if you once you allow that to happen, when that person comes to you with an issue, a problem, whatever it is, you don't have any room to have compassion for the person because you're resentful for them letting all those boundary violations. So you
Yeah.
can't be resenting somebody you have compassion for, and also or having compassion for somebody you're resenting. So it sounds like to me you developed a lot of great skills towards boundaries, in your life. And
I have
so
great boundaries. Yeah.
no, that's awesome, man. You take a lesson from you. That's what I tell my guests, man. I got y'all on here because I'm trying to be like y'all. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Boundaries make my life easier. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It makes my relationships better. The people that I have around me, they know what to expect from me. Boundaries, they were hard to set in the beginning, and again, that was a skill. I
Mm-hmm.
had to practice boundaries, asserting myself in situations and stuff like that. Like I remember the first time, the first exercise that I had to do in my program was, if somebody gives you some food that you ordered and it's incorrect, don't eat it. Because I had got to like a place where I didn't really want to complain, stuff like that. So I would eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was at Chipotle and I was just kind of like, with the tray type thing. And it was actually, it was practice. It was practice. I have to
Mm-hmm.
practice boundaries and stuff like that until it became easy. But from having boundaries in my life, it allows me to have beautiful relationships with people. I don't resent people. I would consider myself to be a very compassionate person. I have that stuff to give, and when I don't have anything to give, I don't. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I don't really associate with people who don't respect other people's boundaries, and so things tend to be quite pleasant over
Mm-hmm.
there.
Those habitual line steppers, you got to stay away from those
Yeah.
habitual line steppers. Okay. So again, I guess we've talked about the word, a whole bunch, codependency. But what exactly, again, if you can give a definition, or if somebody was, looking out for something, what stood out to you in that book that you read, the quiz that you took, you know, um, if you can give us a little insight into that, because again, we're using the word, but I want to make sure, like, before we go any further, that we get some definition in there.
When I'm using the word codependency, and I haven't looked it up, I guess I use it quite often in the programs. But what I mean to me is like an unhealthy attachment um, to really anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think the program a lot focuses on other people, but I think that is you can develop, or I was developing codependency on workplace situations and stuff like that as
Mm-hmm.
well. So just unhealthy attachments to things that just aren't going to benefit me in the long run, and the lack of ability to really separate.
Okay. So I guess what would be like your aha moment, when you're like, okay, yep, that's it. Like you said, like, whether it be in the workplace or whatever, what was something you caught yourself doing and it was like, all right, got me on that one. Like, this is part of that codependence right here. Yep, this is it. Because
It
again,
doesn't.
something that you said, ordering food. This is my know my boundaries too. Even my baby mama, shout out to Bree. She talked about like when we was together, one thing that like, we at the restaurant, she would see like somebody like something would be not right with my food, or like I ordered something. I ain't really, she would see it on my face, but I would never complain.
Hmm.
She would always like, I was like, all right, man, I ordered it, whatever. I'm gonna just, do whatever. So she would be the one to do it. And so like when you said that, I got triggered. I was like, oh man.
I mean, it's just a matter like the way that it's broken up is there's compliance patterns, so that would be a compliance one, but like somebody gave it to me, so I'm just cool with it. And some people
Mm-hmm.
struggle more with compliance than other things. There's controlling patterns. So it's like when you feel codependent and you're triggered and stuff like that, you try to control everything and everybody around you. So it's just like there's different
Mm-hmm.
areas of codependency that some person can, attach on. And at that time in my life, I was dealing with a lot of compliance issues. And so it was being able to do things like that and saying, you know what, I actually don't like this, or I actually don't think
Mm-hmm.
that way. I actually don't agree with you about that. And addressing compliance, but at the same time, being like controlling and manipulative in like different ways. Like I think that one of the
Mm.
especially for women, we don't realize how manipulative it actually is crying all the time. You know what I mean? Because you're using these tears to like get this person to see like, you're not acting right. I want you to do this. So crying, crying, trying to, like emotionally manipulate this person
Mm.
to behave differently. And anytime like in the program, it's like you're trying to your actions are to get somebody to be to change their behavior. You're playing in codependency right now.
Mm. Yeah, no, I could definitely see that when you said that, the emotional manipulation. It's
Hmm.
something, like again, once you've experienced it, like you said, whether it's the crying, whether it's whatever, once you're out of that situation, it's only in hindsight that you can see that's what it was. At the time you just think, you again, while you're going through it, you can't see it. But you mentioned that one of the things that women do specifically who have codependence is, manipulate with tears. I know one thing I do, again, when I violate my boundaries, my 9 personality peacemaker profile, I do a lot of passive, I get passive aggressive, and then check out and, be very absent minded. It's one of the reasons I went to therapy, because I was so used to checking out of my body, what I'm saying, violent, because I was violating my boundaries to be places I didn't want to be a lot of times. So with codependency, is it a thing that where it manifests differently in men and women? There's certain characteristics, like you said, with crime with women. Does it? I know you said you specifically want an all women's group.
Yeah.
But prior to that, was there any like material as to how it manifests differently between men and women?
I think that I've been to some co-ed meetings before and stuff like that. I think just socially, men aren't allowed to cry as much. So you guys
Okay,
don't.
yeah, there's that. There's that.
Yeah, so you guys don't tend to lean to that way because it wouldn't have the same effect as like a woman crying. So
Mm.
passive aggressive is a lot more common. The silent treatment, avoidance, things like that. That seem to be more the kind of the guys things.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
you're not talking about me at all. Avoiding the silence treatment. Yeah. I am confronting things in life, not avoiding them like the plague.
yeah, that's what it is. Like, yeah, passive
Oh,
aggressive. That seems to be more. Guys
hmm.
come to you like, I'm just gonna ignore. Like.
Man, and again, you're seen as being non-attentive. Hey, man, I've been there. Like I said, hey, I heard a preacher say, if you can't say amen, you ought to say ouch. So that happens to me a lot on this show, and this is no different, man. So, what are some of those first steps, whether it be with a person that's in a codependent relationship right now, where they're recognizing it, or they're coming from a dysfunctional background, alcoholic, family, anything like that, or a combination of both? One of those, what are some of those first steps that you took, personally, just to even get to that place of acceptance, even? Because that's the thing too. Somebody can tell you got a problem, but how did you even, get to a place of acceptance? Get
Yeah.
it going.
What I think one of the main resources is the CODA website,
Okay.
coda.org. You can go there and they have it, and it's the same way. All of the 12-step programs are set up beautifully that way. Where the very similar format. There's a problem and a solution. You know what I mean? Like if you read over the problem statement of that program and you realize like, oh, this kind of sound like me. You know what I mean? Kind of how I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
right now, then you can kind of go ahead and look at the solution and stuff like that and see if that's something that you want. And my driving force of the program is the promises. I want to know what I'm about to get out of this situation.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So if I read the promises and that's something I want to have for my life, then all right, I'll go ahead and I'll put my time into to work in the program. Like the promise of the new program I'm working, the last one is learning to expect the best and get it. That's
Mm.
promise 12 of adult children of alcoholics. When I read that promise, I said, "All right, that's what I'm doing
Mm.
now because I want to think that way. I want to
Mm-hmm.
think that way." Um,
Okay, you
and
really are
so,
from the show me state. You said I want to see the promises. Show
yep,
me.
yep. If I invest my time into this, what am I gonna get? And so when I
Mm-hmm.
saw that promise, I immediately started a women's meeting there for us to go ahead and start work on it and address it together, because that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So go to the Coda website if you know.
Yeah, it'll be in the link for the description box of the episode, of course. All the links will be below. That's easy.
Yes, the Women Empowering Women group that I work with, you can also visit there. We have women's meetings. There is the woman who started it, the director. Her husband does have a men's meeting. I can
Okay.
get you the link for that as well to
Yeah,
add to that
please
as
do.
well.
You know.
Yeah, but
So
there
yeah.
is a men's meeting on Monday
Okay,
nights.
okay, fellas.
It does
Monday
have
night
multiple
football.
teams.
Yeah, guys, I know. Sacrifices, brothers. All right,
Yeah,
just
I
put the
mean,
game on mute. All right, just while you watching, just put the game on mute. That's what I do for this podcast,
if it's
actually.
something that you want, yeah, if it's
Yeah,
something
for
that you
sure, for
want, then
sure,
go ahead and
for
do
sure.
that. But the women's group is codawew.org. I spend a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time there working with the women in that group, so that's another place in therapy. You know what I mean? And when I say therapy too, like if you get with a
Mm-hmm.
therapist and it doesn't work out, like that's another point part of codependency is like therapists I think work for us, you know, the client,
Yeah.
the person they're seeing. So if that person isn't serving me, then I'm gonna switch therapists until I find one that I mesh with, that I can talk with,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that.
Expecting the best and getting it. And I had a show a little about while back with James Jerry, one of the therapists we've had on here before, and it was on trusting yourself again. And it was about scams and stuff like that, people being scammed, anything like that, and how once you get burned, you don't trust yourself. Sometimes we go against our instincts, go against ourselves, violate our boundaries because we start to not trust ourselves anymore. And so that really reminded me of what you were saying again, getting in a group just to learn to simply trust yourself again.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah.
skill. That is a learnable
Mm,
skill. Communication is a learnable skill. You know, I feel like
yeah.
there's so much expected. Like, you know, we just come out with relationship skills and communication skills and all this stuff. Like, no, you know what I mean? I had to
Mm,
learn that stuff. I've been to groups where all we do is like talk about our feelings and how to listen to other people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
those are skills, you know, like we're colleagues.
Mm,
So the work that we do, a big part of it is talking. We got to know how to talk. That's
yeah.
the big part of our job. You got to be, hey, buddy, what's going on here? And so investing in things like that, I don't invest in anything more than I invest in myself. You know
Ooh,
what I mean?
preach. Somebody need
Yeah,
to hear
just
that.
like
I need to hear some finger snaps on the track with that.
like taking care of like my mind and my spirit and stuff like that. And then it's just like the rest of the stuff just it works out as long as I'm taking care of the insides. And just that's why my walls are dark now, is just get rid of all the junk. This is what all these
Mm,
dark walls mean. It's just like an ode to the dark goddess. Like if I actively daily remove all of the mess from my life, and I don't have nothing but beautiful things, because I won't let anything else sit in its space. Everything else must
mm.
burn. Everything,
Addition by subtraction. There you go.
and it's just nothing but beautiful stuff around there. But it is a lot of that stuff, I think, is skills, and yeah.
Yeah, man, I like that. We're about skills on this channel, man. I've talked about it, whether it's on the Spectrum episode, whether it was yesterday or last episode talking about being courageous, compassionate, whatever. These are things that we can learn. We can learn to be resilient. You can build resilient skills. You can develop skills around boundaries. So you don't
Yeah.
have to
Oh
be
yeah.
stuck in the place. You don't have to be stuck in the place where you are. There's always growth and development. The trick of all this stuff, the biggest battle is within our mind. And sometimes we truly believe this is it. This is all it's going to be. It's never going to get any better. But my father always told me there are only three types of people in this world: people going through it, about to go through it, and just been through it. So life is dynamic, and you can always change. And shout out to us being therapy advocates on here, Black folks in therapy, a Black
Yes,
man and woman, and she Black in case y'all didn't know.
I am Black. I
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah,
much
yeah.
so advocate for
Yeah, there
therapy.
you go. We out here, man. Black man and woman in
Yes.
therapy, man, for real. But
Yes.
in transition, I mentioned it briefly in your introduction, because it was something again to get me prepared for the show. You gave me your social media, and you brought up TikTok, and I showed you, man. One of the video I thought was hilarious was the one that you said when your therapist broke up with you. Speaking of boundaries, thinking of therapy, I was like, wait a minute, I have never heard anybody talk about a therapist breaking up with them. I need to
Because
hear
I've
some
been
more
trying to
about
keep
this.
my support group on deck. So I'm like, it just makes sense to me to keep a licensed therapy, you know, like
Just on the
that
cut.
shit. Yeah. And the lady was like, nah, sis, it don't work like that. Cause I'm like, like to just kind of talk things out and setting, cause like a lot of my friends were big on boundaries and stuff like that. So it's some things that I want to talk about a lot more than people want to hear about. So it's like, let me take that stuff to a therapy session. And she's like, girl,
Yeah.
we done worked the therapy plan, we done worked through the issues and stuff like that. You good. And I'm like, you sure? If you're not good, then come back. But right now it seemed like you is, so we're done. I said, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Then I went and I saw that EMDR therapist, saw her for a little while, blah, blah, blah. We worked. EMDR is such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. If you're dealing with any kind of
Okay. What's
PTSD or
that acronym stands for? EMDR. Give the people.
eye movement desensitization,
Okay. I think I heard. I think I know
something.
what you're talking about. Yep.
It's
Yep.
like the way I did it.
Yeah.
It was like I had to recall a traumatic memory while looking at a light moving back and forth, and it just
Hmm.
allowed my mind to break down and reprocess it. It was
Yes.
stuff
No,
that was
we're gonna definitely have a whole episode on that eventually. Because you know what?
okay.
Thank you for reminding me. Because one of my homegirls, man, my sister from college, man, shout out to Joelle. She hit me up a little while ago and talked about her getting in therapy and doing that exact same thing. It was a type of trauma therapy to deal with,
Yep.
and she brought it up. So you know what? It's third time's a charm. Dang it. You know it's got to happen, man. So
Yeah.
shout out to the different
She
types of
the
therapists.
gave me the boot too as well. She was like, you
Mm,
worked it out.
yeah.
I actually used that to get off the anti-anxiety meds. I was off my meds. I had a psychiatrist
Okay.
wean me off of those. And she was like, you're good, sis. You're
There you
good.
go. Again,
Yeah.
and how did you react to that? No, I'm not. What do you mean I'm good? You mean I
I was
can't
like,
be?
are you sure? You know what? She was like, if something come up, I'll make time for you. I'm like,
Yeah.
because I had been in therapy for a long time, and it wasn't until I
Okay.
started being really selective about the people that I was working with, the therapists, where they were like, this is not a lifetime thing. You get in here, you work your therapy program, and you
Absolutely.
move on. So when I started being more selective and meeting better therapists, they weren't willing to listen to me talk every week. They were not willing to do that. Um, and so at first it was kind of like, I don't know what I could do, if I don't have something on the
Hmm.
books. But
Yeah, you get used to that too. Yeah.
yeah, and I seen a therapist, so like, oh my God.
Yeah. There you go. You free, man. No meds, no therapist. You made it. You know what happened? What happens when you win? You know, there you go. Good problems to have. Go ahead. She boogieing too. Y'all can't even see it, bro. You know what I'm saying? We gonna got a song in
Appreciate
the heart.
you.
But no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome because that's where a lot of people would like to be at. But you got to get there. You know, you got to get on the meds before you can get off of them. You got to have a therapist before you
Got
can
to get on the
get
meds.
one to kick off you, before they, get rid of one. You got to have a therapy plan before you deviate from it. Shout out to you for, not being afraid and jumping right in. As a lot of our people, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, there's a lot of black people just won't go ahead and do. You feel what I'm saying? I will give credit to some other people that were just where it's a lot more normal in some communities. It's so much more of a struggle for us to go ahead and do that same thing. So shout out to you for that, man.
Yeah.
So
Therapy is where it's at. It's a lot of
yeah.
healing there.
My therapist recently, he said, we've been doing every 2 weeks, but he said, hey man, we can go for three. It's fine. He thought about
That's how
himself.
it
He's like, you're doing all right. He's like, it's
started.
okay.
Why are you? That's
It's
how
cool. Yeah, that's how. Oh no, that's my
it
first
starts
step.
stretching it out. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
come on. I ain't even been at. It's not even. I think maybe it's coming up on a year. Pretty soon it'll be a year. Like, and maybe next month.
Yeah,
I think.
sorry.
And
They start
that's
stretching
big.
them out. Like, I
Yeah,
think you
they
can make
start
it 3
stretching them
weeks
out. Yeah, I
now.
think I can make it. Think I can make it.
As
So no,
needed.
no.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out to that. So thank you for that perspective. Again, that's why you need to talk to other people that's also in therapy, so they can give you a little perspective on your therapy. See, hey,
Yeah.
perspective is a
That's a
powerful
good
thing.
sign. Like you good. You
Yeah.
can manage 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, man. And as we get more responsibilities, and again, as the content grows, and as I mentioned again, she's a mother. I'm a father as well. A lot of things we're doing, it's not all about us, man. We got families, bro. We got people need to take care of us, people around us. We got to have our mind right so our babies can be right. Or
That's the
my
biggest
baby,
gift.
you got a grown person. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my baby will be 17 next week, and I'm so glad that I
Ooh.
went to therapy and I spent the time in the program, because it has changed her life so much. Like, because the codependency was in all of my relationships. There was no
Mm.
relationship that I didn't have codependency. And one of the ways that the aha moment for me with my daughter is that we were in like some like secondhand store shopping for clothes and stuff like that, and I was about to like say something that to me wasn't even registering as picking on her, but like commenting on her appearance and stuff like that. But I had been in recovery, so I stopped. And it was
Mm,
heartbreaking to watch my daughter wait for it. She was used to me always being there with it quick, having something to say about
yeah.
what she should do, how she can improve on this. And so, like, to see her body kind of like brace for that comment, it was like, you got to get your life together, Danae.
Mm. Wake up
No,
call.
and so now, we live a beautiful life in this house. Things, go to therapy. If not for
There
yourself,
you
go.
go.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Do it
you know,
for the children. You know.
for the kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wu Tang is for the children. You know, it was real. No, thank you for sharing that. I think somebody needed to hear that, man, because this is real life we're living. And again, as I like how you said it, codependency doesn't just affect one relationship. I think that's some things
yeah,
we fool ourselves into thinking I'm just this way, this in this relationship. I'm this way. No, it all, wherever you go, there you are, and you dragging that stuff with you, and you can compartmentalize until the cows come home. Compartmentalizing ain't the same thing as boundaries. And so shout out to you too again for soaking in that look, seeing that look in your daughter's eyes, and again by you being in the process of therapy and all that stuff, knowing what it was, recognizing and doing something about it, man. That process, I hope a lot of people can get there.
yeah.
Definitely.
Ladies, if you're tuning in, go too. But yeah,
Yeah.
our daughters are watching us and the relationships that we have. Those are the ones that they're gonna grow up and have as well. You know what I mean? So be careful about what you keep in the house.
Ooh, message. Keeping the house, man. That was deep, right? All right, man. Hey, we're gonna end on that. Be careful what you keep in your house, people. And you know what? I'm gonna use that house as a metaphor for our bodies as well, man. Our minds. Be careful what we're soaking in. Be careful what you're keeping in there. You can't help. I heard it put one time. You can't keep birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from making a nest on your head. You
Yeah,
can't control the passing thoughts, the things that come in life that are catch us off guard. But we do get to control what we keep in here.
yeah. You
You
don't have to
know.
let it settle.
Yep, exactly. I need to learn too, Mr. Boundary Issues over here. Just because I get a gift, don't mean I gotta take it. Don't mean I gotta keep it in the house. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I just because they
Let's
give me the food, if it wasn't what I ordered, I gotta be able to take it back. Yeah, man. And shout out to and one last thing too. And shout out to you for doing the work and not depending on others to do it. Because a lot of times we can keep relationships in our lives. We can stay with that girlfriend or that ex or whatever that makes up for those boundary issues in our lives. That will call the order back. And we just keep people around, to do the stuff that we're not courageous enough to do. That's another piece of it. Speaking of that courage piece.
think like the easy way to identify it too is like how much time you spend complaining about your spouse, your partner, the people you mess with.
Woo!
How much time you complaining about that? You know what I mean? It's like there it is. It's like you see it's a problem there, but you ain't do nothing about it. You just complaining about it. That ain't them people fault. You know what I mean? Like you sitting in it too, because you steady talking about do something about it.
Mm,
Wrong. It's a
mm.
boundary.
Bust a move.
That's a move.
There we
Well,
go.
I mean, that's
Yo,
a move.
bust a move. Do something, people,
All that
man. Hey,
complaining. If it ain't
I,
working, it ain't working, and
it
move
ain't
on.
working, man. It ain't working. And this time is passing so fast. And I guess I'll end on this, as we start to talk about family right at the end, bro. Like, hey, my son is just turned 6 months old. This has been the fastest 6 months of my life, fastest pretty much year of my life since I started this podcast. People, there is no time to waste. This
Mm.
stuff is flying by, and the longer you stay, not with yourself right, the more time you just gonna miss out. Those first little things that my son does, the first little interaction, whatever. If I wasn't at peace with myself to get along with the people in my life, his mother, everybody else, I would just missed out on all that. And guess what? He'd have kept it moving. Life continues to happen without you. Everybody's getting healed up, getting relationships, doing all these things that you want to do. Damn it, make a move towards it, man. Bust a move so you don't miss out on this life, man. That's my
It's a
advice
beautiful
from
thing.
somebody that probably spent way too much of his life just watching it pass by. This 2022 has made me appreciate it and not want to pass it by. I want to contribute, man, and make our little mark. So thank you for tuning into episode 38 of the Consider Your Mind podcast, man, with our very special guest, Danae. And again, last name again? How you say your last name? I always want to
Someone
ask you
asked
that.
me on this back.
There you go. See, I was gonna trick you.
Yeah, I'm not like
There you go.
you know what
That
I
was a
mean?
test, people. That was a test. Boundaries. Ooh, she good. See? Thank you. Thank you, people. You're welcome, people. You see, I bring on nothing but the authentic. I bring on nothing but the authentic, man. I
Oh,
got
that was the
licensed.
boundary.
Yes, right. I
Yes.
got licensed therapists. You know what I'm saying? I got real people in the field. You know what I'm saying? I got okay. Let me see what she's really about this life. Okay, she's about it, man. So thank you so much. I'm putting her social media down there too, so you can follow on TikTok. All right. You know what I'm saying? Give them likes, get them follows up, man. She's talking about some interesting topics that I think a lot of people will appreciate. If nothing else, you're gonna relate to it. Believe that. So and again, we're gonna put all the links out, links in the description box, for Coda, Codependence Anonymous, the links to her women's group, the men's group, all those resources for people that are out there going through it, man. And so any last message you want to give to the people?
The last thing that I want to say is black and brown folk, and really to everybody, but especially to black and brown folk, we can have great lives. We can
Mm,
absolutely have great lives just because we might have grown up in a struggle or whatever. Things can change drastically. Codependence Anonymous is a free program. Adult Children of Alcoholics is a free program. It is, and it has changed my life so drastically. And so I really want other people to have the outcome that I did from working those programs where it's just like my life is good. I want to be able to go and spend more time with other people that look like me where it's just like life is just
mm,
good. We have boundaries and we love each other and we nourish each other and stuff like that. So if that's not the program for you, look for something else. But if that is a place where you can go and find some healing for ourselves, for our kids, for our community, just like that support and stuff like that. So I just really love what you're doing here, Eric. I love that you have this podcast in place just to support that. But I'm begging,
mm.
just please, we can all have good lives. We can absolutely have beautiful lives. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great message. We can all have beautiful lives, man. It's possible, man. Why not you?
Why
Somebody
not
out
you?
there's
Why
living a
not
good. Why not you, man? Why not you? And not for nothing, what she said. I'm not gonna get too deep on it. But my boy Steve Moore, more awareness tees. Alcoholics Anonymous. He talks about how he's sometimes the only brother in there. We want to see some more color. Again, we got problems. We need help as well, man. What I'm saying? Support each
you?
other. Show up,
We
man.
need that
For real.
meeting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
show up,
Tonight.
man. Show up for your brothers and your
Space,
sisters,
in
man.
there. That's
Yes.
obviously our space. The same
You
thing
feel
Tuesday
me?
night, black woman hosts that meeting. Thursday night, a black woman hosts that meeting. That space is for us. There's me and another black woman, and we come in there and we make sure, sis, come on. Come
For
on.
real. Sis, come on, bro. Come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bust a move. All right, that's it.
Whoa.
Bust a move, man. That's how we ended our episode 38 of the Consider Your Mind podcast. Thank you all so much. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we do appreciate that. And until next time, peace.
Peace.